What up, guys? So, as a member of the YouTube membership that I have, the Chew Tribe, the Jiu-Jitsu Tribe, I'm going to show you guys a couple of my roles recently that are narrated. So, I'm going to break them down. I don't typically do a lot of narration roles on the channel, but I'll break these down for you. Right now, I'm working on, just if you want to kind of know where my head is at, I'm working on shifting my game. I'm 40 years old now. If any of you guys are a little bit older, then you might sort of have the same sort of feeling as I do, where your body feels a little different. I think about this, like when I was in my 20s, I felt like I felt like my body was like a car that was brand new. Everything just hummed along, no problem. Now I feel like my body's like a car that's having some issues, right? It's like the door rattles a little bit. Got to check the oil every few days. Sometimes the check engine light pops on. There's just little quirks about it. Now, I will say that adjusting my training, like my sort of approach to training over the last 10 years, I've had less injuries from 30 to 40 than I had from 20 to 30. But at the same time, as I'm getting older, even with a better approach to training, I'm finding I have to change my game around if I want to remain effective on the mats with some of my young buck training partners, right? Like some of the young guys coming into the gym. And so I've been changing my style of jiu-jitsu over because I found that a few years back, I was just getting tired. I had this game that I was playing for a long time, and all of a sudden I just noticed it's wearing me out. The way that I'm playing, my game was designed for a little bit more of a younger person. And then so now I'm getting a little bit older, so I have to start pulling back a little bit and shifting things around. And so I've been retooling my jiu-jitsu game, and one of the first areas that I focused on was guard passing, because that's one of my main things that I do. In most of my competition matches, I get the takedown and pass the guard win, right? And so I wanted to revamp my guard passing, and so a lot of it was going back to my own game and thinking to myself, like, what are the positions that when I'm tired, these are the places I go to? And I found that a lot of times it was like half guard, chest to chest half guard, reverse half guard, things like that. These were the positions where when I get tired, this is where I would always default to. And so I was like, well, this is where I need to begin my search. And I started looking at a lot of different grapplers out there to find how they use those positions, and picked and choosed with like my own experience, my own sort of style to create my old man passing game. I'm going to have a course released on it in the near future, which is going to be, I'm really excited about it because it's been, the culmination of years of work now at this point. And at the same time, I think there's a lot of older grapplers out there that you're following a young person's jiu-jitsu game and you wonder why you're getting tired all the time. So I'm going to show you guys me rolling, and this is me using bits and pieces of that style, and I'll kind of identify it for you, and hopefully this is useful to you. So let's jump into the video. All right, so we're going to start with this roll that I'm having with one of my young guys. This is, he's like, I think he's 30 now, so he's a newly minted Masters competitor, right? But this is one of my black belts, super tough young guy, and gives me a heck of a lot of trouble. And so we were rolling, and this was a harder day of training where I'm getting into it. By the way, guys, something I always kind of bring up is that I like to have jiu-jitsu that is universal, gi or no gi, fundamentally sound, evergreen, timeless. You get the idea. And the style that I'm playing, while I do a lot of it no gi, I can easily transfer it over to the gi, no problem. So first off, this is something that I just bring up to people's attention all the time. You're going to notice me changing directions from time to time during rolls, but I always, if possible, like to pass to my right side, people's left side, because most people are weaker there. Now right here's a great example. This is kind of this idea of cooking, and then you go for the kill, right? So a lot of people try to use guard passing as this very fast thing where you just boom, 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 you go, and that's okay. But for us old folks, right, we have to slow things down. So here's something to think about. So right now, as I'm rolling, I can feel my black belt beginning to push me, and he's trying to attack the arm, but he's having to support me right now. So my weight's loaded on him. I can feel him pushing with this arm and having to kind of extend with his legs just to keep me away from him. So when I feel that, notice I don't really move a whole lot. I just kind of come back to this position, because the longer that he supports my weight, the more energy it's going to take from him. And so this over-under style position is a great cooking position. You can't quite see it, but I don't have anything touching the mat. All of my weight is on his chest. My toes are off, my knees are off the ground, my toes are driving in, my hands aren't touching the mat. All of my weight is on my training partner. This is an ideal situation. And then I drop to my knees and I'm coming in closer, trying to get to chest. But there was a solid few seconds where he just has 210 pounds laying on his chest. Now, this is something I've talked about before from, like, you know, I think my video was how you know that your side control escapes or guard retention sucks. And this is one of those things where you've got to win that battle. So he was working something, but I was able to get the crossface. And so the crossface is really important because if I can control his head, I can start to flatten his shoulders out. If I can flatten his shoulders out, I can get to chest here. And so this is one of my main positions that I like using now, is this chest to chest position. And you can notice I got a figure 4 here to prevent the lockdown. I'm getting chest to chest and I'm going to sit for a second. I've got the underhook, I've got the crossface, and I'm going to work up very slowly with no rush. And he's giving me some good resistance on this arm, so I'm being very slow about this, right? Trying to work it up slowly and just maintain chest position. And this is like one of the things, if you start to play this type of game, you've got to be really mindful about being patient. A lot of times people can become impatient in jiu-jitsu. You got to take your time. Now I'm trying to go for this basic knee push pass. This is like a pass I've been doing since I was a white belt, but it's so effective because it puts the person into a situation where he's either got to like ball up his arm because he doesn't want to get passed or doesn't want to extend his arm for a submission, or he has to push that knee with his hand, and which exposes the underhook. Keep in mind, guys, this is like after we already had a good scrap earlier, because he started the round off on top of me and was going. I don't have the video of that though. And then I'm trying to work the underhook. Now, going back to it, I've done a video about this with mount as well. One of the reasons why most people have a crappy mount, as far as like they can't hold it and they just don't feel like they can do anything from it, is because they get there and they don't have the underhook. If you notice this, when I got to mount, I was trying to already have an underhook here. I don't want to get to mount without an underhook because it turns the positions very tough. Like if my student here had his hands across the waist here and had a frame set up, I mean, he's a strong dude. He's going to buck me right out of there. Now at this point, I'm just trying to hold and put a lot of pressure on the chest down here. Not much down here on the hips, mostly on the chest and the face. And trying to work the hand across here, and I'm trying to take my time. I was testing out this little lapel grip here to see if I could finish a choke with it. It just wasn't there. Now, I came back to mount. A couple things to take away from that, right? If you're kind of getting into this, is one, when you have an arm triangle, if you dismount and it doesn't work, go back to mount. Don't just let go, just come right back to mount. Also, if you don't have a choke, like if you're going for one and it's not working, just let go, move on, right? You can always do something else. And so I'm not going to keep squeezing on his neck if it's not there. We'll try to move on and advance the position. Chair sit to the back. I think I'm running a power half there to the side. He's able to come up and get back up on top of me at the end. I could go for an armbar there at the end, yeah, but a little too late. Now, you can look at me and you can tell that I'm obviously got a little, like, I'm a little tired, but here's the cool part about that. This was like one of the last rounds, and again, of the day, and so we'd already been pushing it all day. Still had some energy in me, right? And here's me and Adam rolling. I don't know about you guys, we get into like conversations on the mat, and it's all over the place. And Adam plays a lot of leg lasso. And so anytime I feel someone try to get that leg lasso, I try to sit back and I will do this lapel feed where I feed the lapel. So I'm feeding his same side lapel to my hand here and then sinking my weight back, because if I load him up and put a lot of pressure on him with that leg lasso, he's going to be able to sweep me. But right there, you can kind of see it. I've got that grip. And that allows me to stuff that hook so it's not in my bicep and able to actually off balance me. From here, I'm going to drive forward in a second after I clear this foot out of my bicep. But notice here, it looks kind of weird. But what I'm doing is I'm getting back, because a lot of times with the sweeps that come from the leg lasso, a lot of times it depends on me pushing forward so the guy has that momentum and that power from them. So what I'm trying to do is clear his foot and get it out of my armpit, which I just did, and now we're off to the side here. And that's when I drove forward. Now, same thing that happened earlier, we talked about the pushing, right? So Adam here is pushing on me, trying to create some space. I have his foot stuffed in here, so he can't get his foot out to press away from me with his feet, which is what he's trying to do, but he can't quite do it. And I'm making sure that if I feel him push, I'm just going to hang here. No rush. So this is this idea of basically we're spending a different amount of energy. Like right now, I'm not really doing much, so I'm not spending a lot of energy. Adam's having to push with his arms, so that's a lot of energy that's being expended. Maybe not much, right now, because it's not as bad as a scramble, but I'm making his arms work, and he's going to feel it in his triceps in a little bit. And notice that I'm not really trying to make any real passing attempt. I'm just pushing. And again, this can be kind of boring, and so that's why it requires so much patience to play this way, because it would be easy to start changing directions and pushing and fighting for hands, but by doing this, I'm just weighing on the person. Now think about this. He was able to get his guard back, but at the same time, he did a lot of work to get there. I didn't do a whole lot, so now, again, we're talking about energy, this energy game, this game of attrition. I'm winning this for the long term, right? I'm winning this long-term battle. And again, this is training, so we're just playing around, but I'm just trying to get you guys the idea to think about, because, when I'm training with my training partners, I'm not thinking about this winning and losing. I'm thinking about working on something specific. In this case, in this particular day, I was thinking about trying to find ways to lay on the person to make them work, and to work this sort of heavy pressure passing style. Probably going to try a roll here. Adam was onto it though. That was a miss. Adam's got a really fast pass off the double knee grips, and when he gets those grips, man, it's rough. I always kind of sometimes forget that, and you just can't let him touch your knees. But I'm turtling up, because in my competition that I'm getting ready for, turtling will negate the passing points, and so I'm turtling up and trying to avoid giving him points. So that's the idea, guys. It's a really simple idea. I'll release some more of these videos in the future, especially as I'm getting ready to release the what I call the flow and controlled course. Play on the words, slow and controlled. But again, you get the idea. There's a lot of these, I call them cooking positions. And you can think about it, it's almost like in wrestling, there's riding. Like in collegiate wrestling, in high school wrestling in America, there's this idea of riding where basically you're locked on the person and you're controlling them. You're not scoring additional points, but you're basically showing dominance. And there's these types of positions in jiu-jitsu that won't necessarily score you a ton of points, but they cook the other person. They burn up the other person's energy without you having to do a whole lot in some cases. And so I've been really interested in finding those, because as I get older, especially when I'm rolling with younger guys, the young bucks, and even if I'm just having a longer rolling session, sometimes I go to seminars and I go to camps and things like that. I'm trying to roll with 30 people without resting too much. Having these positions where I can control someone and ride their bodies and maintain dominant position without having to do anything, that's efficient. And in jiu-jitsu, that's what we all want, is efficiency, right? And as an old person, I don't really have a choice anymore, right? Even as I'm in great shape, for my age, and I can typically outwork most grapplers, but even then, my cardio abilities have just dropped as I've gotten older, and it is what it is. And so hopefully there's some ideas there, maybe if you're a little bit older, if you're looking to be more efficient with your passing, that are useful to you. And I'll release some more of these videos as I'm going through things and get ready for the launch. And hopefully this is just useful for you guys too, where you can watch this and you can think about, like as an example in that video, you can think about, hey, maybe when you feel the person pushing away from you, instead of trying to run away, like just push into it. Push into their push. Make sure you feel their arms kind of having to support you. Or if you get into like a half guard, like a chest-to-chest position, hang out for a second. Sit there for, 5, 10, whatever seconds. Don't be in such a rush, because those are fantastic positions to get the energy advantage over your training partner. So anyway, guys, hopefully you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys next time.